Truthfully Speaking Grace is a global podcast dedicated to connecting, celebrating, and inspiring listeners with empowering conversations. Join host Agatha Corbin as she gracefully builds with real people, sharing real stories, and unlocking real enlightening truth. Welcome. This is Truthfully Speaking Grace podcast with your amazing host, Agatha Corbin, giving you real conversation with powerful topics and connecting with real inspirational people from all over the world. So sit back, relax, and let's get this podcast started. Welcome to Speaking Grace, Truthfully Speaking Grace podcast. This is the June Father's Day edition, and I have as a guest here, Casey Smith in the house.
Hey, what's going on?
From Atlanta, Georgia. Sorry that I wasn't able to come to you for our travel podcast, but great for technology. You were able to come to me to speak your truth as a father, as a businessman, as a leader, and as a mentor or a mentee. So we're going to relax. We're going to talk about who you are and how your truth has guided you to where you're at now. So kind of tell my audience who Casey Smith is.
Casey Smith, I'm a father, I'm a son, I'm a creative, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a friend. I go by many titles. I go by many different titles. I'm a man of God. I'm a man of principle. I'm a person on a journey trying to add to the ecosystem of positivity and humanity. I'm many things.
Okay. So let's talk about what something in your past as a son. Okay. What can you tell our audience, particularly our current fathers or new fathers or soon to be fathers? What something happened in your as a son that impacted your life to where you're at now?
One thing that I did not grow up with my dad. My dad had some challenges and difficulties, so he was not there in the picture. My mom bared the burden of raising us. But one thing that my mom, she instilled in me was hard work, discipline, dedication. If you want something, you have to go out and get it. And she didn't really baby me. Like, it was, the relationship with my mom and me was like dictator little village. So it was like she was very tough, but that toughness, it kind of like fortified me. It made me stronger. It made me understand that the only way I'm gonna really achieve anything is if I want it myself and if I do it myself. And I think one of the best things she did was, I was a very determined kid and I knew what I wanted. I knew I wanted to be involved in creativity. I knew I wanted to have a career where my passion was connected to my paycheck. And she never stood in the way of that. You know how some parents, they will like discourage a kid from achieving their goals or what they want to get accomplished, but she never did. She was just there. She was like, whatever you want to do, I may not have all the answers or have all the resources, but I'll help you. And she also, by her not babying me and making life kind of easy for me, the first job I ever had, I think I was like 13 or 14 years old when I was, and it was a creative job. I used to work at the Children's Museum of Detroit, and I was designing and drawing characters for the children's displays at that time.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so your mom is the way she raised you. I'm a single mom, and I have two sons, grown sons, and they call me Mama Dukes.
Mama Dukes. Okay, all right. That's what's up.
Mama Dukes, and I'm 5'2", and they're 6 whatever, but I'm Mama Dukes because, well, they had their fathers in their lives, but you know, but I was the single mom, and so I can relate to that. I'm not gonna baby you. I don't know everything, but we're gonna find it together. So that had to really impact you about who you are as a man, because you know where you got it. You got that oomph to go find it out, right?
Yeah, but one thing, I never was mad at my dad or anything like that, because I didn't know all the details of what led him down his journey. And I'm a big believer of my journey is my journey. So God has given this journey to me, and I don't hold grudges against other people, or I don't look at it like from an adverse approach like, oh, like, like talking down on him. I know what he had to deal with was difficult, because that's a very difficult thing to leave a child. So I knew whatever psychologically he must be dealing with, the burden is on him. And me and my dad is close to this. We're close now, so I understand that. So I never want to come across as like, oh man, my dad wasn't there and bad mouthing him, because I have nothing but love for him as well as my mom.
But it sounds like too, your mom was a phenomenal woman because she didn't teach you against him. Yeah, she was. She was an amazing woman. She raised me and my daughter, and she adopted 3 of my cousins that they're like my brother's sisters, or my sister or cousins. Okay. And because their mom was going through some things, and she adopted them and kept the family. It was 5 of us, 6 of us in a house and living in Detroit and making it work. So I really love my mom dearly, and all of the strength that she embodied. So I really, how you can learn something through osmosis just by looking at it, and you could take that caring and that compassion. But I never want to besmirch my father for the journey in which he had to go through. So there was some healing there. Yeah, indeed. I think everyone needs to get, if you can get help, I think it's important to get help, because we're all going through this thing called life, and we don't necessarily know. There's not a blueprint. Like, your life is far different than my life, and the only thing we have to guide us is the Most High. And I think the Most High gives us people in our life to help us, guide us in that way. So I'm a big believer in just, my journey is my journey. I'm gonna have ups, I'm gonna have downs. I live a blessed life. I'm gonna be a positive impact to anybody I could touch. And I don't necessarily want to be speaking negative on platforms about anybody, because I don't understand why people do that. And therein lies Truthfully Speaking Grace Podcast. Indeed. Plug, because that's why God has allowed me to have this platform. So Mr. Smith, or whoever else that God allows me to have on the show to speak their truth of where they're at, and how even whatever negative happened, it turned into a positive. You know what I mean? Because you learn something. Yeah, so, there's a book by James Allen called As a Man Thinketh. And the book is basically, you may not be able to change your circumstance, but you can change how you look at it. And I'm a big believer in the way in which I look at things. I can control that. So no matter what I may go against, I've been through some difficult times, but I can control the way I view it. And it's like, all right, God, what lesson, me and God, we have a lot of conversations. And I say, God, what lesson am I trying to get from this? What you trying to teach me? Like, how am I trying to navigate? And I think in due time, every time I'm led to that kind of, the answers. I'm led to the answers. And it made me think of something, but I don't want to, you can go. 'Cause it made me think of like how I view myself, how I view fatherhood, and how I view God, the Most High. The real Abba. Yeah, because the reason it kind of led me to that is because I think of the role that a father would play is much like a lighthouse, right? A lighthouse is very stoic. It stands there, like, no matter what. But the way in which a lighthouse, sometimes you may have, as a child, you may have like a rocky road, and the seas may be rough and it may be darkness, but a lighthouse is there to guide you, and you can come back to it, and it gives you the new direction that you need to get to. So whether it be God, whether it be the Most High, whether it be God, whether it be a father, me, a man in the flesh, I always want to be that way for my daughters. And I think that that's something that all men and all leaders, I think even women, should embody that, being that kind of stoic, resolute, guiding force to the next generation or people around you in your circle. Yes, I like that. And so let's go into your older, maybe your teens or your college years. Was there a mentor or someone? Oh, yes. Because, I have been fortunate to have both my parents. I was a daddy's girl. and
that's
both
awesome.
my
That's
parents
awesome.
are gone. But today is special to me, and I am kind of biased to dads because I was a
Yeah.
daddy's girl. I love my mom, but
I understand.
she even said, you know, wherever you want to get in the house, go ask your dad. Because
Indeed,
he couldn't
indeed,
say no to me. You
indeed.
know, so but at the same time, I was blessed and fortunate, and so were my sons, with great mentors. So is there, you don't have to give a name, or you can give a name.
Oh no, I'm gonna give a name. And it's definitely there's two men. I do believe that in order to be a great man, you have to go through a great man, meaning you have to learn lessons from a man.
Write that down. Write that down.
Yeah, you need to go through a great man in order to be embody that. There's two people that really had an impact in my life from that standpoint. There's Mr. Corbin. He was my teacher. I went to art high school in Detroit. It was called Crockett. He was a very people say crazy, but you know, like I would say he had a very artistic aesthetic, but he kind of looked like Cornel West, but he was a very strong man. Like he talked like Casey. He had a big prominent voice, right?
Very large.
Yeah, he had a very big voice. But Mr. Corbin, one thing he told me when I was like 15 years old, we were just drawing and in class, and I'm I'm young. I'm probably just similar to the way I am now, like had like big ideas. I wanted to make an impact or whatever. He looked at me. He said two things to me that really stood out. One time he said, "You see that skin color that you have? Like, you are such a powerful thing because they've been trying to kill that skin tone that you have since the beginning of this earth, and you're still here. And if you die today, you have lasted for that long, and that's what you carry with you." Yeah. He told me this is as a teenager. So it's like, I'm taking all this in. Another thing he said to me, he was like, one day you'll be in a position to teach people how beautiful they are. Like, it's just so crazy. And it's like, I think about that in terms of some young men don't have mentors or people who could pour life into them. And he was just pouring so much life into me, just drawing, just talking, just like a regular conversation. Mm-hmm. So that Mr. Corbin was very, very impactful. And when I got to college, the other man that had a very big impact on me, his name is D.L. Warfield. And he's a very famous art director. And he was just like, he didn't give me that kind of guidance from a standpoint of the way Mr. Corbin poured into my identity of a Black man, but he gave me the understanding that, because in the industry that I'm in, at that time, it was not a lot of Black people in it. So DL, being a senior designer in this industry, he kind of gave me tools to navigate in the way in which to see design. Because I'm a big believer in, you can only be what you see. So if you don't see something, it's hard for you to even imagine being it. And by me seeing DL and his success and the way in which he would talk to me and the way in which he would guide me, it really empowered me, and it kind of fortified me. Mr. Corbin as well as DL Warfield, those two men right there had a direct impact on the way I view myself and the way I view design and the way I view the impact I can make in the world.
Cool. So at what point after you got out of school and you were moving in this career, what shifted you? What made you or impacted you to become a businessman?
One thing, like, I was always involved in some kind of creative business, like designing for people or whatever, right? But the thing that created the Betty Bob Books, the company that I created with the young lady in my past, was we had our first daughter, and I was so proud to have my daughter. Her name is Kai. I was so proud. I was like, oh man, I can't wait. So I bought a whole bunch of stuffed animals and I bought a whole bunch of books. Now, the problem in buying a whole bunch of books, I'm big on self-identity, because I know that no disrespect to any other group of people. And I love them all. I love white folk. I love Latins. I love everybody, right?
But we Black.
But yeah, if it exists, I believe in this notion of this thing. If it exists, it has to exist. So if Black people exist, we have to see ourselves in these different things, because you can't, like, I can't just, if I see a white man succeeding, I may identify him with certain aspects, but I need to see myself in that position. I need to see myself in that image, right?
Right.
So I thought of, when I'm buying all these books, I didn't see a lot of representation of young Black girls. So what I did was, I was talking to the young lady that I was with at the time, and I said, she was my wife. So she was definitely my wife. It wasn't no side.
I got you. We got you.
Yeah, it was done in the right way. But I was like, oh man, she wrote me a couple of poems when we were dating and all that. And she's really good at writing. And I was like, I'm really good at drawing. So what we did was, I was like, well, I want to create something. Let's create a book. Let's combine these two things, because I'm always thinking about the way in which I can use my talent to create freedom for myself, use my talent to create business opportunities for others, and use my talent to basically, like, I think life is such a gift. It should be grabbed and it should be molded. And the talents that you got, you can be able to make something that can inspire somebody else. And that's such a powerful thing when you think about it.
Yes, it is. It's paying it forward. Yeah,
it's paying it forward. And it's also, like, great art is transformational. So it's like, if you hear a song or you see a play or you see a movie, you can't unsee it or you can't unhear that music, just because how impactful and powerful it is, right? So what we did was, I created this concept called Me and Mama Zay. And this is the first book that we had.
Yay.
And it was basically this is her real granddad. Her real granddad, the girls call their granddad Mzee. Mzee means elder in Swahili. So, and this is, so because I'm always trying to incorporate a little bit of Africana from everywhere into everything I do. So that's why I created the company Betty Bob Books, was based on her being born and it not really being a representation, and just constantly building on top of that. It's one person now. I'm the only person doing it now, so it's just a one man just trying to build an empire thing.
But you're building it, and not only that goes to my next question. This has to really have a wonderful impact on your relationship with your kids, with your daughters.
Oh, yes.
Because you created something not only that they see themselves and their family, I'm big on that legacy, but you're building a legacy for them.
Yeah, and it's funny you mentioned that, because when we had our second daughter, her name is Kennedy, and she's chocolate, and we have this book called Poof, and she's playing a game of hide and seek with her dad.
Oh!
And the reason I love this book so much is because she's hiding behind all these things, right?
Right.
And in all the books that I created, when it comes to that, I try to put a little bit of myself or my life into it. Like, she actually created this painting. She did the painting, and I put that in there. And we had a family dog named Clover, and I put him in the book as well. Like the illustration.
So it was a whole family. She was a part of creation. Oh, she would never forget that.
and when at the end, towards the end of the book, she's like, Daddy, how do you always find me? And it zooms in on her curly post, and it says, because I love you. But deeper than that, it's what makes you stand out is what makes me love you. So be who you are. And I try to keep that kind of family love vibe into the books, even though it's one person doing it. Like,
that's okay. But so the girls, let me say it's more than just you. Well,
oh no, like when I do events, right? I do these like trade show events, and whenever I'm selling the books, like I get return customers, and they always have like praise and love, like, oh man, we love such and such and all that. And one time it was these older Black women, they had to be in their 80s, and they were like, it was 4 of them. And they just came up and hugged me, and they was like, "Oh, we wish we had something like this when we were kids." So it's a powerful thing. So that's why I keep doing it, and I'm gonna be doing it until I die. So I'm gonna keep it going.
So you're gonna have some more books added to your series.
We like I have Poof, me and my Mazay Rainy Day. We have Dot Sponsored Chicken Pox. We have ABC Haku.
Yes.
We have 3 bedtime ditties for little kitties. I
Oh.
have The Boy in the Tree. I have another book called Do You Have a Penny? It's a book about financial literacy and
Which is huge for me. That is huge.
yeah. Then I have another book that we created called Count to 10 and Look Again. And then based on the fact that when we were doing the books, our oldest daughter was like, I want to do a book too, Daddy. And I was like, yeah, definitely. We can do a book. So she came out with a concept called The Runaway Cupcake by Kylie Smith with very little help.
She's an author.
Yeah, and her book is her illustrations within it. It's all this stuff is when she had to be no more than 6 when she created this.
Wow,
So,
another artist.
Yeah. So that is one sector of what I do. Yeah.
That is a phenomenal sector because you not only created this with their mother, but
Yes.
now they get to create it with you and leave a legacy and
That's
take
correct.
care of the rest of the village. Because do you know
Mhm.
how awesome that is to have little girls to see themselves, especially with the puffs, or
Yeah.
or see that, to have fun and
Mhm.
be children, be little girls.
Yeah.
So let's talk about
and little boys too. And little boys too.
little
Yeah, 'cause
boys too.
Yeah, because in like a book like Count to 10 and Look Again, it's about a little boy who's afraid of the dark, right?
Yeah.
And his dad teaches him that if you count to 10 and look again, it's not as scary as you thought. So in this book, it's dealing with like duality. So it's kind of like he looks at like he'll look at a closet and he's thinking like it's this big scary monster coming out the closet.
Yeah.
But when he counts to 10 and look again, it's really his coat. So it's just that facing
that
your fears.
perception.
Yeah, so it's like little boys and little girls. So black, white, everybody can enjoy it. So it's just all good.
It's just that they hue is our hue, but it's still multicultural, it's still multidimensional for every parent to use.
And there's one thing that I believe in, this principle of mirrors and windows, right? I think it's important for kids of color to see mirrors. That way they know they exist. And I think it's important for kids of other races to see windows. Therefore, they know the world exists. So it's like when you get that kind of understanding, we have a better world and we're raising a better world and a better generation of kids, a better generation of people, because they'll say, well, I understand he has similarities to me. So.
Wow. So let's talk about how old are your daughters now?
One of my daughters is 8 and the oldest is 14.
Oh, you
13. 13. 13.
So what are some of the lessons as a father on Father's Day? What are some of the things that for you that you have already started pouring into your young lady? Because girls need their daddies.
Oh yeah, that is so true.
That it's just the boys, yet the girls need their dads too, because it deals with our self-esteem, our look at what the love mapping, as they say, leadership. Because my dad was the biggest one that taught me about leadership. You know what I mean? Even though I was a lady, my mom still made me to be a lady, even though I was climbing trees and running around with the rest of the dudes in the neighborhood. But she still taught me to be that lady. But my father taught me and my brothers about that leadership role. So you want to talk about that?
Oh man, there's so many. I do these things with my daughters. We have these daddy-daughter dates, and I'll take them out, and we'll do different things, right? But one thing I always teach them, I'll say, what does daddy always say? And they say, to love yourself. And I always tell them to love themselves, because if you love who you are, you value yourself, you validate yourself, and you don't have to look outside of who you are to get validation. Because I think society that we live in now, that too many people seek outside validation, so they do things that's abnormal and not really good for themselves, because they will do something for likes or do something for, like, do the most bizarre and outlandish thing
I
just to
know.
get people to give them a thumbs up. So I always want them to have that kind of mindset of loving themselves. And I refer to them as peanut butter and chocolate. So I'll say, you know, daddy love your chocolate face, or, you know, daddy love your peanut butter face. And I'll say, periodically, I'll say to the girls, I'll ask them, I'll say, what did daddy say when he first seen you? And they, because I would yell and say, when I first seen you, I looked in your eyes and said, I love you. You know, like, I would tell them that. And then they would say, you looked me in the eyes and said you love me. So it's like, I want to pour love into them. And like, periodically, you know, it's lessons in which I tell them, and they ask questions, you know, we go from there. So I actually told them that I was doing an interview, and they was like, what is it about? And I told them about fatherhood. And they asked what kind of questions. And it was like, I know one thing, you're the greatest daddy ever. So they would say that, they would say stuff like that.
You tell peanut butter and chocolate that yes,
Yeah.
you are. I mean,
Yeah.
because you just having that daddy-daughter time.
Mhm.
Time is more precious
Yeah.
than money. Time
Yeah.
is time and health.
Mm.
Health and
That's
limited
true.
time. And I believe in that. COVID shifted.
Mm.
It was horrible because we lost so many loved ones. And
Yeah.
so many people in this country. It just makes me sad. And then on the other side, it made a lot of us, adults and children, realize how precious life and time with your family is.
One thing, though, I do want to mention that, it kind of, speaking on the time thing, and I'd be remiss if I didn't say this. Me and my wife at the time, we had a son that passed away, and his name was KJ. He passed away when he was 8 hours old. So that gave me a better understanding that how finite time is, right? And I always think to myself, I was like, man, if KJ only had 8 hours and I have 40 something years or so, I'm going to maximize my time. I'm going to make sure that I'm making him proud, because I feel like I have, like, ancestors and angels, like, rooting me on from the sideline and like, yo, go get them, and like, and they're really pouring life into me. So I always think about it in terms of, like, man, there's so many people who paved the way for me that would never know me. So one thing I can do is pay it forward, and I can leave this world better. There's a quote by Albert Einstein that says, leave the world better than you found it. And I think that's very important, that if I have interactions with people, I want to, you know, pour life into them and leave them with a little bit of goodness and greatness, whatever I could do, like, even if it's small. So whether it's the books, or whether it's wise words, or whether it's something that could possibly help them on their journey, and not be overbearing, not be preachy, but like, yo, man, I'm just giving you guidance or giving you advice from this standpoint, because time is so finite. And I'm blessed to have the years that I've had, and the career and the talents I've had.
And know that it has that time with your family, your friends, and even yourself. You know, let's talk about that. I mean, as a father, you know, what are some of the things that you like to do? Because we always ask moms, but let's ask the daddies. What do you like to
love
relax?
Oh, I love working out. I love creating. I love reading as well, but not reading. Like, I like to read, like, I may get a paragraph here or there, like, just that information. I love to really work out and create. Basically, those are two things, and spending time with family as well is good as well.
Yeah, because don't you think a lot of times with the fathers and the men now, it's just like everybody, it's the hustle and bustle. We got to work. We got to take care of it. We got to take. And like I said, this past COVID is really kind of slowed it down. And I think a lot of people's figured it out. Like, I don't have to be there. I don't have to
Yeah.
do that. I don't have to.
Yeah, naturally.
Impacted you.
Yeah, but another, like, I'm naturally a more introverted person anyway. Like, I like to go inward. So at times I find peace in times like that. I find, like, I like to meditate. I like to talk to God. I like to really reflect on my thoughts. I like hiking. I like running. I like being one with nature. Like,
Yeah.
I like kayaking and stuff like that, right? So
Yeah.
I understand how a lot of times people feel like, oh man, the COVID situation happened, but maybe that was a reset. Maybe that was God saying, we need to sit down. You need to take a breath. You need to relax and reevaluate some things. Whether it's your career, whether it's your relationship, whether it's the way you view yourself. Because sometimes I think a lot of times people are dealing with situations where if they have to sit in a room by themselves, they're sitting in a room with a stranger and they don't know who they are. So it's important. It's important to take that time and to be at peace, because I'm more of a person, like, I'm very reflective. I'm very observant. I'm very grateful. Like, I didn't ask to be in this world. I was just given this talent and put here. So I'm thankful for the time in which I have, the dance in which I'm a part of. So I'm not the type of person who is, you know, how some people are, they're not grateful and they're not cognizant of, like, this can be taken away like that.
That's like,
and yeah, and I'm looking at it like, man, it's all gravy. Like, whatever, as long as I work hard, God put me in a position, I'm gonna knock it out the park. So it's like, whatever, I didn't control coming here. It wasn't like I had a conversation in the class and God was like, yo, you go get him. It was like, I just popped up and I'm aware that I'm here.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So how you say you spend some time with your friends. So let's talk about you as a mentor. Has God allowed you to pour this kind of powerful, because I'm telling you, you know, I worked in the community, I worked in the business world, and I own my business, and I had 2 children and they had two different fathers, strong men.
Yeah.
So I've seen it all. But the one thing that I see that is missing is the men mentoring the men. You know what I mean? And pouring into each other in that, you know, way of, okay, bro, I understand. Let's huddle, as they say.
Yeah. I think there's not a lot of structure in place to allow that to happen, where that's why it's actually, because I don't know if it's by design, but I know you don't see a lot of male teachers. You don't see a lot of male institutions being propped up, right? So, and the majority of the churchgoers tend to be women. So it's kind of like, where would they actually, unless it's sports, and with sports is very like, it's a ceiling attached to that. It's only so much that you can attach to sports, because the goal of sports is to win a game. It is not to, a lot of times people are not looking at it, I'm building man, I'm building a young man. They may say that, but the actual goal is to win and teach them technique, teach them how to achieve a certain thing. So it's like, I understand, it's kind of not built. We need more organizations and more things in place to be able to mentor. But I do, like, with my friends, I do volunteer as well, but with my friends, you know, I'm known as a friend. I'm known as like a positive person. Like, I'm always, not in the sense of like, you can do it type of thing, but I always look at it like, man, it could be worse. Just give it your best. Like, whatever. Like, I was having a conversation with a friend of mine he's starting a trucking company, right? And he's got a driver and he's leasing out this truck. And he was just telling me, like, man, some of the ups and downs that he was going through. And I was like, yo, man, listen, if God give you the vision, he gonna give you the provision. So if you're already at this position, you gonna get there. Don't stress out. Don't get in the way of what God got for you. Like, just do your best at that time. Don't overthink it. And whatever that is with my friends, I'm always talking to them about the way in which, because I've seen so much crazy stuff in my life that
Can imagine.
I just chalk it up as like, yo, I'm just living. I'm gonna have good times, I'm gonna have bad days, I'm gonna have whatever. I'm just gonna live my life and be grateful for the times. And hopefully I have the mindset of like, all right, I'm gonna get through this muck and this mire. And then at the other end, I'm gonna laugh, I'm gonna have a good time with my friends and the people who love me. And we're gonna kick back and have great stories to tell. So
okay, well, my last interaction or my last question, let's talk about that, the mental health side. And the reason why I want to mention that, because COVID too, because like you said, God used COVID to expose a lot of things. So one of the biggest things now, which we already knew, is the mental health issues, particularly again, in our community, in the Black community. We don't, back in my time, or even way prior to that, they didn't talk about the mental health issue, and particularly for a Black man, because for me, what I witnessed, because I'm a daughter, or a mom, and I was, somebody's fiance or wife, back in the day, I got to witness that, and so what can you say to the fathers out there about getting help on the mental health side?
That is so important. There's a couple of things that's at play, right? One, there's this thing called the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? And at the top of it is self-actualization, right? And at the bottom of it is survival. If you're in survival mode all the time, you're just trying to get through life. Oh, I'm just trying to make it. You'll never, ever be able to reach your full potential in the peak of self-actualization while you were here. So that's one reason why you should get mental health. Another reason is energy just passes, right? Like that, we're having a positive interaction. But if I'm in a relationship with somebody and I am not healed, I'm only passing negative energy and they're only passing negative energy back. So that is a burden and painful for me to pass that to my kids or for me to pass that to my wife.
We call it trauma bonding.
Yeah, and I think for such a long time, people was like that struggle love. And I was under the impression that, oh man, we're going through it, so we're gonna survive this. But in actuality, you're eroding someone. You're tearing someone down subconsciously or consciously. And that's not doing anything for you, because consequently, they're gonna tear you down. So we're looking at it as we're going to war when we actually should be building. It's a very destructive environment to be in. And I think the same way you would get a coach if you're trying to be as fit as you want to, fit as you could possibly be, you should get somebody who can work on your mental, because your mind is a brain and you want to be performing at your apex, right? So I don't think there's nothing wrong with getting help or seeking guidance in that way. I think a lot of times we were sold a lot of BS about, we're gonna pray about that, or do like push it away,
or man up,
man up, or
in a Black household, what goes on in this household stays in the household.
And
everybody all broke down and miserable.
I do think that there is something to be said for being stoic in whatever you go through, and to be resolute and not to share your pain with everyone, because not everyone is wise enough or smart enough to understand the nuances in what you're dealing with. Because some people are so destructive and evil that they would use that as an opportunity to seize on that. So I do believe that you should, in a certain way, man up, and you should only seek guidance from people who have the actual tools to help you, because there's a lot of people who will use that opportunity to crush you or use that opportunity to come up on you, and to come up above you. And I don't think that is a wise thing to do. It's like in the Bible, seek many men your counsel, be a open ear to many people, but few give guidance. So it's like, don't tell everybody what you're going through.
No. But I was talking about the darkness that we have, a lot of, and it was my young men, my powerful young men that educated me, because they went off to school. They got out, they got among other peers, or they were in school, and they would just come home and tell me, like, they knew that that kid has some pain or situation in their
Yeah.
home that translated to what's going on in school or what's going
Yeah.
on in college, what's going on, they play sports, what's going on in sports. I mean,
Yeah.
this is real. So it's bleeding over. So
Yeah.
when I say they're having all this pain at home because mama in pain, or the daddy ain't there, or the daddy in
Yeah.
jail, or daddy in pain, or they both miserable, or papa miserable, grandma miserable. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And nobody's healing is what I'm
And
saying.
And to think about it, the one thing that is very important for everybody to understand, that everybody's going through something. Like everybody's going to have their trials and tribulations, because there's no human being that's perfect. No matter what social media say. There's
Okay,
no
say
human
that
being.
again.
No matter what
Nobody
social
is
media says,
perfect.
there's nobody that's perfect. So you're going to have your ups and downs. The best thing to do is to have tools, like have tools in your tool chest to be able to work on the job. Like I own a condo, right? And I rent it out. And I had to fix a door, right? Now, just because I have the proper tools to fix the door. So that's a problem. I was having to do something, but I had the right tools. So if you're dealing with mental issues, you need to get the right tools to help you out. So
That's right.
That's it. That's how I look at it.
And it doesn't make a man or a father weak.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. But it does make you, if you're going through something and you're hurting those around you, that is a weak thing to do.
That's
like I don't think you should be hurting those around you or hurting yourself. I think you should really try to seek to get help and understanding. And like I think it's very important to get the right kind of help, because I was going through some stuff one time, and man, people were giving me the wrong kind of guidance. And in that moment, I was so heated and so mad that if I would have acted on what they were telling me, it could have been destructive. So it's like I thought they had my best interest, but they didn't know. Like they were just giving me
what they
foolish advice. So
be wise to the fools.
Be very wise. Yes.
Yeah. So we're about to wrap this up. What are some of the last words that you as a father want to give to other fathers out there for whatever age group right now?
I think there's this notion that I love Black fathers. I think we do an amazing job. I think it's good to be on platforms like this and to talk about the impact that we have. I think I see, even when I'm out and about, I see brothers doing their thing all the time. Yeah. And I always, a friend of mine, we always had conversations, and she, I don't think she mean any harm by it, but she always, try to slight fathers because she's going through something with whoever she was with, right? And I'm like, nah, man, that's just one small thing. There's a lot of brothers who don't really have the tools, and they're making the best out of what they can. And I think that to just keep working, keep doing the work, keep seeking guidance, and understand that you have an impact. Because a lot of times in our world, we're told that we don't exist or we're minimized, right? And the crazy part about it is that everything that exists in this world is by somebody's mind. So you exist, you can make impact, you can do things that's tangible and that's positive. And it starts with your kids, it starts with yourself. So it's important to understand that you have value.
All righty. And tell the audience again, your website, the name of your business, your company.
My name is Casey Smith, and my website is Casey, Kasey Smith, SMITH, CS.com. And my business, I have a couple businesses, but Betty by Books is the business that I have. Betty by Books is the business. I don't know if you can even see that, but Betty by Books.
Yes, we can. And
Betty by Books.
And know that we're going to have this on the platform. We'll have
That's
your
perfect.
Websites. And if you have any questions, is there a contact that they can call you to order or to get some books?
Yeah, like the books are available on Amazon right now. Like the books.
All right, well, say that.
Like it's on Amazon right now. Go and get you. Go and get it. Read it to your grandmama. Read it to your granddaddy. Read it to your mama. Everybody. Like
and give it as a gift.
Give it as a gift. Give it as a gift to yourself. Like I think it's important. Like I love it. I love being able to make an impact like that. I think we all can make an impact. This is just my little way of doing it. So.
All righty. Well, Casey Smith, thank you. Me and my family of the Truthfully Speaking Grace podcast appreciate you. And again, happy Father's Day and enjoy your day. Audience, next month, same time, same date, whatever that is. Hey, maybe I'll get to fly somewhere. All right. Be blessed.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to Truthfully Speaking Grace podcast. Stay tuned for another episode with more real conversations, celebrating real and inspiring people from all around the world.